Thank you very much for the welcoming word, and I will start the conference with a presentation about the results of the project. And right now we have the final conference, and so I will speak about the results of this project. In the beginning, very briefly, I will speak about 4 partners of the project. One in Latvia, the duration is 4 years, and over those years, quite many results have been achieved. I have no any aim to tell about everything, but I will say the main things, and there will be other presentations to be presented later on by representatives of the organizations that took part in the project. So whatever complicated that thing as an ecological network sounds, or things are quite simple, which is to protect all trees and related species. And one of the species is Osmoderma barnabita. It's an umbrella beetle, and that means that where this beetle lives, many other species, plants, fungi live. So it's a tool which allows us to select biologically most valuable species. That's why this beetle is very particular. It is special, and that's why it is protected in Lithuania and also in other countries by most important conventions, international conventions, also included in the Red Book of Lithuania. And there is some misunderstanding concerning the terminology, because we have 2 types of terminology, like Osmoderma barnabita and Osmoderma eremita, and I can explain you why. You see the explanation on the map. On the left side, we have Osmoderma eremita, and on the right side, we have Osmoderma barnabita. So earlier, we had 1 species, but later on, when more investigations have been carried out, it turned out that there are several species. And in Lithuania, we have Osmoderma barnabita. So if you read our publications, you will see the title of the species as we call it. And so it is not very essential, but it's good to know when we see and analyze the differences of the species. One of the key goals of the project was to develop, to create Lithuanian Latvian ecological network intended to protect species dependent on veteran trees. And you see the map, red color, means best places, most favorable places for the species dependent on veteran trees. These are habitats. And this is the model which was developed based on our data, on our investigations and our research. And it is intended to plan environmental activities and provides quite a lot of information. And we see quite a lot of information, and based on that map, we also plan future activities, our future works, our future projects. And based on that map, everyone can find our projects. So that was a theoretical model, and here you see a practical ecological corridor, which is a practical project. For over 600 trees, protection agreements have been signed and arboristic measures applied. My colleague Alvydas will tell more about this measure. I'm speaking very briefly here. And Kaunas Ąžuolynas Park, Oak Park will be touched by our other colleague. So between Vilnius and Kaunas, we wanted to create an ecological network that is to protect, to save veteran trees in connecting Verkiai Neris Valley in Vilnius, where you will have an excursion with the other relevant areas which are important for our beetle. In order to carry out those works, research is needed over those 4 years. We have selected places in which we did our research. We carried out quite many jobs, and we needed time, and we didn't have to sit at the tables. Actually, we had to work physically quite intensively. Here's a smart trap, and the smart trap was one of our goals in the project in order to facilitate our research, and it did facilitated our research. And our other colleague will tell about that more in the course of the day. Another a bit more interesting activity was the so-called Osmo Dogs and their training in order to facilitate research of the beetle, and special dogs were trained so that based on the smell, on the odor, they could let us know if the tree is inhabited or not. Of course, this activity requested a lot of efforts and time, and of course, we need even more time in order to work with them in full. Another very important achievement was a successful breeding of the beetle, also reintroduction on the valley near Neris River, and we are very happy that this activity happened quite successfully, and Christina Guzhatnia will tell more about that. And this year, we have noticed already first adult beetles, and we think that they are occupying that habitat. So these are good signs of our activity. And here I marked in red logs in Verkey Valley at the nearest river. So we organize discussions for people to inform, and this is the Strivninkai case. And maybe you have read about that already. And so we provide the years and the activities that we performed in connection with the oak trees, which were logged, although they had not to be logged. We didn't manage to stop that activity, but we at least managed to remove those logs to another safe place, to Verkey Regional Park. And we were really happy when we noticed the movement and life of our beetles in them. Of course, it would be good to avoid such cases of logging trees inhabited by our precious beetles, but even if that happens, it is also good to create a monument for the habitat while enlightening people. And also we assess the impact of the project for the services of the ecosystem. These were 7 services, and at the end, the final assessment will be provided, but the A3 tool was used, and our colleague from Czechia will speak more about that. And also soft activities were useful and important, which is active awareness raising of our society. So we arranged events for the society, also organized conferences, distant conferences, as this one, which is half live, half distant. And we also created 10 movies, and we will show you one of the animations, how trees can speak. And I hope that the premiere will happen today successfully. And there were also articles printed, different reports provided, media events, and also informational stands installed. And we hope that we will manage to install even more such stands. And very briefly, I put down information about the main publications and documents, so you can find all of them on the project page. You can simply look at them, to read them, and to use them. And for the end, I would like to tell about certain challenges that we faced and that we tried to resolve, and maybe we managed to resolve. There's an opinion that an old tree needs no any management, and we shouldn't take care of them while spending millions for their production. And This is, not true, and we wanted to deny this erroneous opinion through different videos and also publications. And we also paid some time, to educate people on the Facebook, why, what, and where, etc. And we think that we managed to make some influence on them. Another challenge was waiting. One waiting was for the permits to carry out works, and there was quite a substantial delay, and because of that, trees suffered, not us, but trees, more trees than us, and some trees could even break. And of course, this is nature, and it's not quite difficult to reach agreement with nature. So we also had to wait for 3 years because of the freezing. We had the freezing for 3 years, but last year we had a good winter, and eventually we managed to carry out these works. And the third challenge with a question mark, life after life, so to say, life after the project. So specificity of our organization as an NGO is that we are able to continue our works, and when the funding finishes, we have to look for something else. And first of all, we have to finish this project, and we are now working with a new application. And so, in fact, we are planning to continue our activity, and in order to protect more and more trees. So yes, information about financing possibilities is really important, and we should build ourselves on the guidelines which help us do that, in order to help us to implement other projects and other protection measures. And here is a slide demonstrating our team, our group, which is very open for new propositions, new proposals. And so if you have good ideas, new offers, we are open to them, and we will be happy, and we will take them over. And so much from my part. And here is an example of Kaunas Oak Park, where management works were carried out, and someone from the society assessed our efforts, and they expressed their gratitude. And now, if you have any questions, you can ask live, or you can ask them through distance. And you can write questions into the chat box. I will answer them later. It seems there are no questions on the chat box. Yes, I see someone raising the hand. What was the role of the IP program in this project? So when I spoke about the assessment of ecosystemic services, I mentioned, that it was used in order to assess those ecosystem services. I see a question on the chat box. Shall we read it? All our results of the research have been entered into the information system. Therefore, the question concerning the accessibility can be answered positively. Yes, it is accessible. There are documents, but we do not have any separate databases. And it cannot be, because this is a protected species. And anyway, if you want to get more information, you have to register to the system or contact us directly.